iPad Air, so I'm going to do a little review on it. I've kind of started one. It's iPad Air, not the Air 2, the iPad Air. And I upgraded to this from an iPad 2, which, you'd say, what's the importance of someone going over this? Well, I'm kind of going over maybe a slight review the idea of going from an iPad 2 to an iPad Air, because if you had an iPad 2 functioning at this point in time, you may be a person who likes an Apple device or two, but you don't have the money to upgrade it all the time to the highest level, so you buy things when not the latest model, you know, one model back. The iPad 2 is the most popular seller of all in the iPad line, and sold well after I think the 3 was put to sleep, or no longer even available, maybe even the 4. So it's the most popular model. So I would think there would be a lot of people who would be interested in going from an iPad 2 to the iPad Air, because you can get a better price, especially now that there's the iPad Pro out. You might even get a really better price if they're still out there closing them out. But they're a better price than the Air 2, and they're quite a good upgrade in terms of just, it just works better and all that. And I had the Air 2, the iPad 2 using OS 7, and I think it might have started with 5 on there, I don't recall. But I just couldn't see going past 7. It was doing all it could, as best it could, with 7 on there. So I just did not see going to 8, and it was getting older, cracking the screen, and it became, like, I need to upgrade if I'm going to keep using this, but I don't want to go spend the highest dollar I can. So this is a 32 gigabyte iPad Air, and it cost me around $400. So that was, like I said, the Air 2s were cheapest for something, and I got this with 32 gigabytes. So it was a somewhat better price. And yeah, so just a little rundown of some of the issues I had. Wait for this to juice up, but just to give everybody a little rundown, what I did, I took my iPad Air, my iPad 2, I keep saying that, and I backed it up to my hard disk on my computer. Now I have some cloud storage capability, but prior to 8, I think you couldn't back up really fully to the cloud. You could back up certain things and certain information, but it wasn't a full backup. It may have been a full backup of the iPad, but it wasn't certain things could not be backed up. It wasn't full featured, and I believe that at 8, a bunch of those features came in that were missing in 7. So I didn't want to fiddle around with upgrading that to 8. Didn't want to do that. Didn't want to mess anything up that way. Did not want to be kicking around with the cloud. So I backed it up to my hard drive, and then I got this one up and going, and then I restored it to this one from there, which worked quite well for the most part. One issue I did have, and I think this may have been an issue with the compatibility of some apps, is that there were some apps that didn't show up, and they weren't transferred. And that might have been an issue with this having 8 and those apps being maybe not having compatibility with 8. I'm not sure about that. But that is something you would want to be aware of. It wasn't too bad overall, but that was the issue I had. Another issue is that now that I have this, I believe 8 requires an upgrade for numbers, which I had on here. And I know that Yosemite requires an upgraded number. Well, here's the thing. So now that this upgraded in numbers on here, and I still am using Mavericks, the numbers documents are no longer compatible with the numbers on my on my Mavericks version, which is crazy to me because it's like El Capitan is not even out yet. So this is one version back that it's incompatible with. And the goofy thing is it's not that unusual that you would not have an older version compatible with newer versions, except for that you could export in that format, the new earlier format, and you can't do that in here. You got your share stuff and send a copy. So what I was doing was sending it to iTunes, and here you have numbers, Excel, CSV, and PDF. But the numbers is not compatible with that older version of numbers, and like I said, it's only one back. And if you do it in Excel, it is missing a bunch of the features that you have. Certain things don't work. It's not that bad, it's not terrible, but you don't want to keep going back and forth from it. If you're going to keep using documents, it's no good for sharing. So that's really goofed up. That's just, I mean, it's hard for me to believe that they, I think Mac has gotten, it's not that it's never been proprietary, but it's getting more and more proprietary. So that's an issue. So a couple other things I wanted to say was the touching is a little bit different. It's not, I don't think it's quite as responsive. Maybe I will let's not say responsive. It's not as touchy as the iPad 2, which might be good because I think you could get inadvertent actuation stuff sort of going on in the iPad 2. So that was one thing. I think some other things here that are important to someone who might do this. I mean, it's very smooth, and I've got the 32 gigabytes of space. Well, here's another issue that I found out. I had a case for the iPad 2, and the iPad 2, it's similar in size. It's very close, but there's a little bit of difference. This, I think, is the dimensions, the outer dimensions are slightly farther, or, like the width and, length and width. The depth is less. So what I tried to do was, I tried to kind of put something in there to shore it up and see if it would fit in the other thing, but it never really would, because the problem is that I could get a snug fit, but because it wouldn't center where the important parts that have to have an opening through the case were correctly within at that open. And again, you think you might be able to center it. It's kind of hard to do. Like I said, it had to be more. That made it so that it had to be more perfect. Even though the iPad, the eyelets or window openings on the back were actually very similar in very similar places. You see this one right here. That's the camera, I believe, and there's that's in the same place. There's a couple switches on the other side. And right here, this is the volume and the lock rotation thing. And those are actually in the same place. So I thought I was going to be able to do it, but it didn't go over because, like I said, it had to be so perfectly centered, and it just was, this wasn't going to work unless you're just spend half your life on it. The other thing that I noticed was, and I don't know if this was something I wasn't doing correctly or not, was that there's a search function on these, and it was on the iPad 2, but it had the hardest time getting it activated. I don't know if I was doing it wrong. It just never seemed to work. On this one, if I do just a slow drag, it works. It comes up. There's the search, and if this searches the web and all kinds of things like that. It says web hints. I haven't tried it yet. Let's see. What if I do? Person Kentucky clerk. Oh yeah, there. Okay, so it's coming up. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so that does search the web, and that's a pretty good feature. So it does work. And like I said, I don't know if it was just my own stupidity, that I wasn't doing it right, or if this is a difference in this particular iPad, or if the difference was in OS 8 or not, but it worked. Now, if you also had iPad 2, it did not do Siri, which I think it was just a matter of processing power, because I think even with the lower, with 7 and so forth, I'm pretty sure, and even 6 maybe, different models did Siri. The iPad 2 wouldn't do it. And it might have been also that it wouldn't be enabled unless it was in a cell phone package. Now, I don't have this one. This is not got the cellular package, but it does have Siri, and you can use it. So I'll try this. So if I go up here and touch in this line here, down here on the menu here, you can see the little speaker thing. Like I said, it may have been on your display but not working. But this, I was so disappointed with the iPad for not having that, because it's something that you hear about, and it just seemed, like I said, the processing power, it probably wasn't quite up to it. But let's see. Kentucky clerk license. Done. Supposed to touch it. Haha. But it worked very well. I don't know if you can see that from my little thing here. Worked very well, I gotta say, done there. And sorry, it's taking more than that. And I even have a little background noise going on here. There's a dehumidifier running in the background. So that did pretty freaking good. These things, a few years back, these voice activation things were not good. My cell phone, which is a Nokia 920, still is not that good. But here's another thing that you might want to know. When I decided that I was going to get a case for it, and the other one wasn't going to work, I went and found the spec one at Radio Shack, and it was like $17 down to $39. Yeah, a lot of you know that unless it's from a lot of these, even the minimal ones are like $30 if they're any brand name. And so this was, it looked to me like the iPad Air, I think Radio Shack doesn't even sell the iPads anymore, they used to. And so that might be part of the case, but whatever, I got it for $17. It works quite well, it fits well. But it has one issue, is that these work in terms of going to sleep when you put the lid down by a magnet that is sensed, I believe, by the iPad. That's how a lot of the other cases work. So this one doesn't have that magnet in it. So I realized it wasn't working when my battery was running down, and I couldn't figure out why, because I figured it had gone to sleep. So what I did was I set this to 5-minute, no activity, put the display to sleep. Works perfectly fine. So for $17 instead of $39 or whatever they charge, it's okay. I can have it go to sleep itself in 5 minutes. That's plenty of time for me. I don't need a magnet. The other thing I did notice was I sometimes use this for scanning receipts or something like that, And this has a much better camera than the iPad 2. I believe the iPad 2 had a forward-facing 0.7 megapixels, which is just nothing. I mean, you barely could even get a cell phone with that bad. And the back one was like 1.2 or 1.3, which is still just nothing. So in comparison, this is a Nokia 920 that I've had for at least a year and a half, and it was on sale as a model that was like, it didn't just come out when I got it. So it's 2.5, 3 years old, this model. And it's got an 8 megapixel backside camera. So now this new one has, it's 5 megapixel on the back side, and I think it's the 1.2 on the front side, as it were. The back side was with the older one. I don't know if you can see this from there, but it's a very good picture. It's very crisp. But what I did have to realize is once I took the receipts, and I've never thought my phone was very good for taking pictures, and I think that might just be a matter of the idea that this is a stationary focus. It may have some little focusing capabilities. It's got the light sensor thing and all that, but it doesn't really, you don't have a mechanical lens thing. So it has focusing issues is what I'd say. But what I did was I realized that when I took receipts, this worked better for the receipts. And part of it was that it has a thing called a filter in it. And it's one that was provided with a CS filter, and it will make it into black and white or grayscale or do an automatic brightening. And it just works way better. I think maybe that's probably because it was specifically intended for that. So you're out shopping and scanning the receipt, whatever. But I'm surprised that, and if you don't have separate graphics application for this, then you might rely on like Preview, which has like a filters thing. It has you can change the white balance and saturation, the shadow stuff. That it just doesn't work that well. So caveat emptor in that regard. That is a thing that I found that doesn't even work as well as my almost 3-year-old cell phone. So, but maybe there's something I should do. But if I got a cell phone that does it that well, and I shouldn't have to buy another app. Maybe there's another app for this, but I just don't think I should have to buy it. It's one of the things you would think you would be using such a device for. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, and so again, I think this might be meaningful to people who were going to upgrade from their iPad 2, but they don't want to spend a lot of bucks. And now the Pro, the iPad Pro is out. These might drop like a anchor. They might even be gone here in a minute. In other words, blow them out. You won't see it anymore. So there's my little iPad review. Hopefully this has been helpful. Bon appetit.